Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Emperor Poxal and welcome back to the final episode of this 3-part series. For today's part, we are going to be discussing the 1000-Year Blood War arc once again, but this time our guest is the one, the only, the Bleach and One Piece Encyclopedia, Tekking101. We are on to our next guest, the Zabimaru twins.
Zabimaru twins. How? Zabimaru. So yeah, and they're not the same, but they're very similar.
Yeah.
Like the only difference is the guard is a different color, but other than that, giant wooden Zabimarus.
Yeah. But yeah, today for our final guest, we have the Tekking101.
Hi, I'm here.
You can introduce your channel and say what you do.
Yeah, so Tekking101, I've been on YouTube for, oh god, it's been like 12 years this June, I think. Talked about Bleach for a long time, and then that ended, and then now I talk about One Piece mainly, but I still do Bleach stuff. I actually did a video on Momo today, so that was something. I have the poster back here, Bleach stuff. But still very much love Bleach, really excited to talk about the anime when that finally comes out, and just any Bleach discussions in 2020 or 2021 are great to have, so thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, he's also known as the Bleach and One Piece Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. It's really sad though, because when Bleach was going on, like that's all my channel was, and I like dedicated myself to reading as much as I could about it. But now that it's been a few years, I'm way more into like my brain is like pushing out the Bleach knowledge to make room for the One Piece knowledge, so I'm not quite as fresh with that as I used to be, unfortunately.
Well, it's still crazy because I could never imagine talking about characters like what's his name? You're the encyclopedia. Yamamoto's lieutenant.
Oh yeah, like Chojiro Sasakibe. Well,
Yeah,
I always liked
minutes.
him. He looked cool. You know, there's stuff about the.
I liked him too, but all he got in the
secret...
series was he got beat up.
Yeah, he got beat up. He showed up once. That's pretty much it. No, the secret is really just go on a lot of tangents. That pretty much is the secret to everything. You know.
Today we're going to be talking about what you find, and I too, what we find to be the most exciting parts that we are most excited to see adapted into the anime of 1000-Year Blood War.
Oh yeah. Did you hear? I don't know, because I just saw some stuff on Facebook today about it, that it's gonna be on a time slot at like midnight, is what I heard.
Yeah, it's gonna be a late night time slot.
That is crazy. I don't know much about the time slots for anime in Japan. I know One Piece airs like early Sunday mornings. Obviously, something that would be a little bit more graphic though would have to be later, and so a midnight time slot for Bleach actually kind of gets me excited. Like, okay, then they're gonna have like uncensored, some blood and some gore and all the crazy stuff that's gonna happen in that arc, because it gets intense at points.
Yeah, especially with 1000-Year Blood War. I mean, this is a war full of despair. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be crazy. So it's like, okay, at least the time slot lines up, you know?
Yeah, I still think some stuff is gonna be censored. Maybe some stuff that happens to Bambietta in the arc. I think that might be censored.
And there's also that scene with Ishin's backstory where you see Masaki like naked. So that's also gonna be like when they're in her soul world. It's like they might have to censor that a touch, but we'll see what happens, because it does get pretty graphic.
Yeah, 100%. It's probably the most graphic arc of Bleach by far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, by far. I think
Kubo felt like he's going out. He's going to go out like crazy with it. Yeah.
I think Kubo was like, okay, what am I going to do for 1000-Year Blood War arc? Let's kind of test it around in the Arrancar saga with Aeon. See how creepy we can make stuff. Takes Aeon, makes that 100 times creeper.
I'm glad that they would be doing that, because looking back on the Bleach anime, they actually did have to censor quite a bit, more so than you'd think. Like, there was the scene where Ukiura was fighting Uryu, and Uryu loses a hand in that fight, and they had to censor it in the anime, where he just gets like some burns on his arm or whatever. It's like his arm was broken. And I'm like, wow, they couldn't even show him like, now granted, losing a hand, that's very graphic, but it's just like, seen some worse stuff in other anime. They had to censor that, so this is gonna have to be, this is something different. Yeah,
and it's also because the Arrancar saga had a very earlier time slot. I'm pretty sure.
Actually don't. Yeah, I don't remember what the time slot was.
I think it was like 4, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. I remember I used to watch the episodes when they came out. I think it was Tuesdays I would see them, but I don't remember what the time slot was in Japan.
Yeah, I think it was 4 p.m., and that's why it's so censored. That's why Rangiku, rather than losing a whole titty, she loses just a scrape.
Yeah, she just gets like a little cut on her side, when in reality, like, her stomach and kidney got ripped out. It's just like, oh my god. Yeah.
Big censorship.
It was pretty brutal. Yeah.
So if there's like one thing you're looking forward to, one moment in the series, what is it to see adapted?
I mean, there is so much I loved about this. If I had to pick one moment, though, out of everything in this last arc, that I could like maybe see animated like right now, I would probably go with the fight between Uehara and Askin. Because I live Uehara, and Askin was my favorite Stern Ritter. He was a very unique kind of depicted character. Where he kind of had this idea of like, yeah, I follow Yuha and everything, but it's pretty much just because I'm not like into exactly what, like, I'm not as evil as he is, but I'm just like interested in this new world he's going to create. Yeah. So it's more like curiosity is what he's like piques his interest. And the entire time he's just this really chill kind of guy. And it's like, yeah, I really don't want to fight. I really don't want to use my power. But if I do, you're going to lose because I'm like one of the strongest Stern Ritter with my death dealing power. And I think that whole concept of the lethal dosage was very unique. And then, of course, Uehara with his Bankai, that's something we've been waiting for years. So
yeah, totally. When it comes to me, and I said this with the 2 other YouTubers I interviewed about the same topic. It has to be Yubak or Yuhabak, however you want to say it.
Yeah, I'm super curious on how they're going to handle that in the anime because I still don't understand exactly how to pronounce his name throughout all of this. But go ahead,
100%. What would be funny is if each character said it differently.
Yeah. It's like Yuha Bak, Juha,
Yeah.
I think at the very beginning with the J, and then Nimaya later 100%. Calls him a YH or something later on. Like, how do you even? I don't know. So we'll see.
But it has to be Yamamoto versus Yubak for me, at least.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely
know.
Yamamoto.
Like, it completely changed the setting of the story. It brought the stakes of Bleach to be at a point where it was never like that before.
It was, very bold for Kubo to do that, where it's like, okay, Yamamoto's Bankai, that's going to be like a world-ending apocalyptic thing. And he utilizes that relatively early on in the arc. It's like chapter 505 or 6 that he uses it. Yeah. And that's only like 20-30 chapters into the final arc. You're giving Yamamoto's Bankai a swing. So that's insanity. Do you think we're going to get to see more of it, like in terms of like expand upon in the anime?
I don't think they're going to like expand it in each tiny moment. Like, I don't think they're going to expand the powers as much, but I think they're definitely going to make the fight last a little longer. If that makes sense.
Like kind of like, just to get like kind of pad out the episode, but not necessarily pad out because I want to see more of Yamamoto's Bankai because a lot of stuff that he does is like he went into like the West form, which is like the flame armor he did. And we only got to see like barely a chapter of that before he went to the south and he summoned the army of skeletons. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's cool. Can we get more of that though? And then this, and then you see it. And more of the army of skeletons. Can we have like a whole episode of the army of skeletons? That was pretty damn awesome. Yeah.
The skeletons were such an interesting ability. I was thinking of doing a whole video a while back. Have you seen Overlord? By chance?
No, I have not seen Overlord. I think I own a light novel of it somewhere around here, but I have not seen it.
Well, anyway, Ainzu Gon is considered this like grand necromancer. I was considering, could 1 trillion skeletons out necromance Ainzu Gon?
Was it because that number was insane, and I'm trying to think like, was it meant to be taken literally, or was it more of like a reference to like Buddhism, because Buddhism has like different numbers and stuff to it? Because I'm like, I don't doubt that Yamamoto could have killed like 100 trillion people, but that's a lot of people. That's more humans than I think that's ever existed. So it's like, I mean, that's definitely more humans that have ever existed. But like, that's absurd.
Could be, but like, I think it potentially could be that amount of number. It would be insane if it is, but
I mean, that's something so crazy. That's like a One Punch Man or like a JoJo.
Yeah.
Like if it was a JoJo stand that allowed you to summon a trillion skeletons, I'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. It's like the Grateful Dead. It's like, okay, yeah, I see that. I see that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see how they portray the skeletons, because I know in the manga it looked freaky. Like, that is such a freaky ability and such a dark ability at the same time.
So it's like I just finished watching the anime of Vinland Saga, if you've ever seen that, and I read the manga like 3 times, and I finally got around to watching the anime for it. And the anime is great; it's fantastic, but there's some scenes that just can't transfer right from manga to anime. You know, like the detail's just going to be lacked a little bit. So the detail when all of those skeletons came out of the ground, I mean, that looked like bone chilling. You know. Bone joke pun, yo ho ho ho. But yeah, like I'm very interested into seeing. I think it's Perioth that's still going to animate it.
Yeah, it's kind of been confirmed, but not really. Like it's
yeah, I haven't seen that. So, but I think they'll do the best they have with it. You know, it's debating now whether it's going to be pushed back to 2022 because of COVID and everything. But that just gives them more time to work on it. So we've already waited like 8-9 years almost. So you know.
We can wait one more.
I can wait one more. As long as I know it's coming back, that's fine, you know? Yeah.
Just having that confirmation is good enough with me, at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I was talking with James about when he was coming back, and he basically confirmed almost that it's 2022 with the whole Bleach being at the whole expo thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, I saw it. He's like, so 2022. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I'm not going to be too mad about 2021.
So out of every Stern writer, who would you consider your favorite?
Well, I would say Askin there, but some of my top favorites would definitely have been... I liked Harold Valkyrie. His power was kind of BS. His power was like... His power is spoilers here okay to do this or
yeah, it's labeled 1,000-Year Blood War videos.
Okay, so I understand. Yeah. So his power is pretty much like when he's about to lose, he wins. So that's basically, I mean, that's the essence of the miracle. You know, so but I liked his aesthetic, the whole like gladiator Valkyrie, not Valkyrie because he is a Valkyrie, but like, you know, like kind of like Viking design. That was really cool. It
took 3 captains to beat him.
3, yeah, they didn't even beat him. It was Yuan that had to eventually know, drain him. Yeah,
it took 3 captains to hold him off.
Yeah, as Note was very creepy, but I liked his just design. I thought he was very, very, very chilling when he was first appeared. I'll tell you what, and he did nothing in this entire arc, but I liked Robert Akutron. I wanted to see so much more of him, Sternritter N. Hopefully in the anime adaptation, Kubo will be like, okay, now we have more time to work with, and I have like a second shot at this. I hope we at least learn Robert Akutron's letter as well as BG9, who is K, and we never found out its letter either because it's like a robot.
Yeah, but I think we'll receive a little bit additions here and there. I mean, Kubo did say that he spent his goal was 10 years for this arc, and he only put in 5. So there was a lot of content missing out. I'm sure like a lot of the Stern writers would have had backstories and stuff.
I don't think... Oh, yeah. Even Asnote was one of the very few to get, like, a full-fledged, like, backstory. Even his was not much. It was like he was a sick patient, and then he, you know, became a Sternritter. And Basby's and Hashwolf's was fleshed out the most, but even then I felt like there was more to it. You know, it kind of left off on, like, Yuha's gonna invade the Soul Society the first time around, and we just never saw that. Like, we never saw Yamamoto's first battle with Yuha or anything like that. So I don't think Kubo, when he was writing the arc in Shonen Jump, he knew that we were going to get a second anime adaptation. He didn't know that, but maybe now he's like, okay, I have another shot at this, so we can make it work.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see what he's gonna do. Is there any like major Here's a better reformed question. There was a lot of character arcs that happened through 1,000-Year Blood War. We had the Shinsui character arc, the Kenpachi character arc, the Mayuri character arc, and there was more than that. But out of all the character arcs, who do you think was the best written, and who was your favorite?
Oh, that's really good, because there's a lot of characters that go through. Like, even today when I was doing the Momo video, my next Lieutenant discussion is going to be on Marechio. And Marechio, at the beginning, you think he's just some big, big fat guy that's like, he's like, I'm just gonna, eat food and whatever. But even he got some interesting character development in the last arc, like defending his sister against BG9 and everything. And so that was pretty cool. It wouldn't have been Marechio though. I would probably say,
I hope not.
No. I mean, I love Mayori's character. He was always the most fascinating. Like first time I watched Bleach, like his fight with Uryu, that was always really fascinating. We get a little bit of an introspection into his character and his relationship with Nemu and like, creating this like, artificial, soul, but like also kind of like cherishing it, but he can't admit that because he's Mayori. I would probably say Mayori and Byakuya's moment when he arrives to help Rukia fight Asnot and he has like those words of encouragement for her. Something else is implied. Like Byakuya does care for Rukia. He's just very stoic and doesn't really know how to like emote really. And in that moment where he just kind of like gives Rukia some words of encouragement and then she's the one that kills Asnot and then he kind of like, let your Bankai melt slowly. It's a splendid Bankai. You did an amazing job. Like, I'm proud of you. Like that was nice. I like that.
Full circle of his character.
Completely. That was very nice. It was very nice.
I gotta say, that is the only, in my opinion, that's the main redeeming thing for the whole fake death with him. I think that redeemed it after that.
Yeah, I think I was a little upset by that because it really did look like, because Senbone Zakura was like destroyed and then he was like a giant hole in his chest and stomach, and I just thought like, okay, he's dead, and that's another thing we're going to go with. I don't know, maybe Kubo wanted to, but then he changed it at the last minute. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, it seemed like Byakuya more or less passed the torch on to Rukia anyway. So, like, I think that's the message Kubo was going for to begin with.
Don't quote me on this. I'm not trying to spread any misinformation with this, but from what I heard when the manga was coming out, when he did kill Byakuya, he was receiving death threats and hate messages, so he decided to undo it. That's why you don't really see any messages of him being in a coma until 5 or 6 chapters later. And that could be wrong. That could be completely wrong, but that's just what
I could see it. I understand that a lot of people care about these characters and that people get upset when they die. And in the era, of course, with social media and everything, back in the day, it's like character dies, it gets published and stuff. And if by the time someone gets angry and writes a letter, like you're already like tens of chapters later, right? But now it's like you can find out immediately, like, Kubo is like, all right, I'm going to see if I can kill off Byakuya. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people, responded some people responded negatively to that, people that love Byakuya. But I don't know if he decided to, if that's the reason or anything.
I don't know either. Yeah. I don't know either. Yeah. I'm just putting it there.
It's plausible. It's plausible.
I do know that Kubo was very active on social media back during Bleach's airing day, and then a certain situation took place and he deleted his Twitter account.
Yeah.
Sadly, I mean, he was very passionate about his series. He responded to his fans.
He was,
and it's just a sad thing to take place.
But
on the
he started a new one though, and it's I think it's mainly for the Bleach 20, the new 2021-2022 project. I remember like I think it was shortly after Bleach ended, he did a full cosplay of Mayori, and he posted that. That was pretty sick. That was pretty awesome. Yeah,
it was. Let's go into detail at the start of the series. I have a good friend. His name is Shonen OG, and we were doing a ranking Bleach arcs video. And one of his favorite aspects of the series is how the series of Bleach develops the identity of Ichigo. Especially in Thousand Year Blood War, with Ichigo's origin story kind of being fleshed out a lot more.
If I could just talk very briefly on Ichigo's character, like how I view it, I find his character extremely unique compared to some other shonen protagonists, whereas like the ones I always compare it to are Naruto and Luffy, because those are the big three at one point. Luffy wants to be the Pirate King. He has a specific goal he wants to aspire towards, and that's the reason he leaves. Naruto wants to be Hokage, so people respect him and everything, and that's what he kind of sets out to believe. What I find fascinating about Ichigo's character is Ichigo is just like a teenager. He has no real overall goal. He could just see spirits. He decides to use this power to help others and help the spirits. He's thrust into this, deputy Shinigami position out of nowhere, really. but he handles it very well. It forces him to kind of mature very quickly, though. And by the time we get to the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, he already had a chance to go back to his normal life when he lost his powers. But he decided, this is my duty to continue to be a Shinigami and protect the people I care about. This is the best route to go about it. It's not something I ever really asked for, but it's what I ended up with, and this is what I want to do now. And he kind of arrived at this conclusion. Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. And I love how he finds out how his mother was a Quincy. And one thing that I think Kubo does great with is he does foreshadow some of these things. A lot of people claim certain parts are pulls out of nowhere, but then you reread Bleach and you see, oh, there was this, and this that led to that moment. Now, no, I'm not saying everything has that, but...
Oh, no, but the backstory with Ichigo's parents, I think that fit rather well. Foreshadowing is a tricky thing in of itself. It's like, do you make it so obvious? It's like, hitting your audience over the head with a hammer of just like, okay, this is what's going to happen next. Or if you make it too subtle, then it's like, this wasn't foreshadowed at all. But I think when Aizen was speaking to Ichigo at Fate Karakura and he's like, you're the son of a Shinigami, and it's like, okay, there's something else going on here involving Ichigo's birth. And then that backstory kind of explains everything. With the Hollow and the Quincy and everything. Yeah.
A lot of people claim, this is one of the biggest flaws with Ichigo's character. And while I don't think Ichigo's character is a perfect character by any means, I don't think it is. Him having powers in every angle. Because if you look at the story, Aizen wanted to create a monster, pretty much. Not a monster, but somebody who could surpass him to a degree, be a challenging opponent. And his mother being a Quincy was part of that goal all along. Like, Aizen had planned all those things, and you watched was part of it, don't get me wrong. You watched his part as well. But there was that angle in there that if you notice... That's something that I'm kind of, like, hit or miss with. Like, I don't like the idea that, like, everything about this main character, down to his powers, down to his very birth, was orchestrated by the villains this whole time. Because that takes away maybe some like, okay, so, like how much of this was Ichigo? And Aizen was even messing with him there as well. And so then we find out about Yuha and how he has, he's the father of all Quincy's, so he has part of the Quincy power inside of him that's, Zangetsu is Yuha inside of Ichigo. So it's like, how much of this is his own will versus how much of it is the will of others? And that's a major theme that Kubo explores throughout the arc when he stabs the Soul King and like the blood of Yuha is responding, I feel like it's not as explored as much as it could have been, but maybe we'll see more of it in the anime. What did you think of Kenpachi versus Unohana?
Oh, yeah. So I definitely want to see more of that. That was very somber kind of battle. Kenpachi, it kind of starts off with him typically just like, loving a good fight. But then you start to realize that Kenpachi kind of looked up to Unohana as sort of like a mentor figure. I hesitate to say as like a motherly figure because there was a lot of blood and everything. It's more about fighting, but it's more about like, you were the one person that bested me in the way that you did. And now, you have one more final fight with her and then she dies. And then Kenpachi basically just starts shouting and crying. And I think Unohana even likens it to like a child, and so she kind of departs, but it's like, listen, I had to pass, I had to die so you can reach your fullest potential. So yeah, there's something else I did not think was going to come as early as it did in the arc. And so you lose Yamamoto and Unohana, two of the strongest, captains relatively early on in this arc. And it gets really, like, oh, okay, well, they're really time to pass the torch, time to move it on to Toshiro, Byakuya, Kenpachi. They're the ones that are going to be doing this now. Shunsui, I love Shunsui's little arc throughout this whole thing. Yeah,
for sure. I think like just them losing their most powerful fighter. I'm calling Yamamoto that, even though Kenpachi doesn't.
Yamamoto and Unohana, you could both make that argument. I think so. Yeah.
And you lose your most powerful healer. I love how Unohana like. She's the strongest healer in the world. I mean, you could argue. Ohime, of course, is above her, but technically, in terms of the healing Kido and understanding a body and like how to heal it, that's Unohana. Yeah, and she learned the healing. Yeah, and when she fights, she heals you just so she could stab you again. Yeah. And that whole fight with Kenpachi was kind of a mind screw at first because it was just like,
So what's happening? He's getting killed over and over again, and then getting healed, and then getting killed.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god, this is brutal.
I just love how she's the strongest healer, but only because she wanted her fights to last longer.
Yeah, that's so messed up. But it's like, all right, yeah, we'll roll with that, I guess.
With us not really understanding her Bankai, we know that's some type of area effect. You know,
I was just gonna ask you about that. What the hell do you think her Bankai was? Because it was literally just makes a bunch of goop. We don't even know if it's blood or goo or what it was.
Yeah,
and then I was like, it all done. Yeah,
I think it's some kind of psychological effect, which is weird. Like it's a theory that not a lot of people have, but I think it kills people and it also heals them. It's not her. It could be. Yeah, I think it is her keto, but it's
the same. It's the same pronunciation, Minazuki. But I think it's like read as like all things end or something. So if her Shikai heals and rejuvenates, her Bankai kills and decays, maybe something.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
That, yeah.
But I think it was actively healing, or maybe she can use it to choose who it.
She could do both, maybe at the same time. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
All I know is that art that Kubo did as Kenpachi was his bones.
Yeah. I thought that was literal for a second. Like he's literally being reduced to bones and then being healed again. But no, it's like his psychological barriers are being broken down, and he's now just a raw carnal incarnate of death. You know, he's the Grim Reaper. He's a Shinigami now. Yeah.
I think that's why so many people are like, oh, it melts your skin to the bones, literally, because that is symbolism.
I mean, I when I first reviewed it or read the chapter, I'm like, it's acid. I just assumed. But it's like, you wait a second. I think he's maybe going a little bit more figurative with it rather than literal.
And
it
could be. It could be acid.
Maybe it could be. It could be that too, yeah.
But we aren't Kubo.
We're not Kubo, no, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We would have all the answers then.
Yeah. Biggest Bleach channel of all time.
Yeah, there you go.
Just talk about Unohana's Bankai for
that, or having access to a time machine so I could go into the future and see like, oh, this is what happened. This is what the One Piece is, and then come back and be like, guys, this is my theory on the One Piece.
It's the power. It's the friends we made along the way.
Ah, dang it. Well, there you go.
They guessed it all along. What's another major thing that should be talked about?
How about, well, we could talk about the ending. The ending of the whole thing. Yeah. That's
I was avoiding that, Tekking.
I think this is another chance. I think we're gonna get a little bit different kind of style the way it'll end. I think Kubo still intends it to end the same way it did in the manga with, the epilogue and everything. We might just get a little bit more of a bridge between that.
So my issue with the ending isn't that it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It has its issues. I think it was rushed. And there was a lot of potential. Like there was for example, Ishin and Ryukin, their only point in the whole arc was delivering an arrow. Like I wanted to see them fight or something. Like
that's something like that. Like when you get to chapter, when you hit 680, like 6 chapters before it ends, the gas pedal gets hit hard, and you can tell like the pacing just accelerates quite a bit from that chapter onward.
But like the whole thing with Aizen, like working with Ichigo, I loved that part.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I want to see more of it. That's the thing. Yeah, I want to see more of that like interaction there.
And the speech on
I think it's gonna be. I think it'll be handled differently in the anime.
I do think. Yeah. I think it's just gonna be the same story but lengthened. I think we'll get more on the Silver Arrow, more details to make it not as hated, And what I hope that somehow Kubo orchestrates the characters doing something else. Like I hope he does something with Ryukin and Ishin and some of the other characters that just stood there watching Ichigo
because as it stands, the only things that they didn't really contribute to the arc outside the arrow. The only thing they did is they appeared in the flashback.
Yeah.
And it's like that's great for a flashback, but I wanted to see Ryukin, especially since it's Uryu and Ryukin are like the last Quincy's that aren't part of Yuha's Sternritter. And it's like, okay, there's Uryu who joins. Well, what is Ryukin doing this whole time? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Uryu. That's actually a great topic, I think, for Thousand Blood War. I think Kubo's intent was to really give him a longer character arc in Thousand Year Blood War. I think what he got was good, but I think it needed more.
My issue with the Uryu plotline is that the second he shows up as a member of the Sternritter, we think are we supposed to think like, oh no, Uryu's evil now? Because I didn't think that. I thought because Uryu's the smartest one out of Ichigo's group. I'm like, he's a double agent. He's pretending to be a member of Yuha's army. And I kept waiting for that twist. Like, okay, it can't be something so obvious. There's got to be a twist to it. And there just really wasn't. We find out all of a sudden near the end of the story, Uryu was like, hey, Ichigo, I'm actually a double agent working to take down Yuha. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Yeah. It's like, no, duh. You were an ally for 600 something chapters, and now all of a sudden you're evil? That makes no sense.
I wish... I wish...
one more thing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
He consumes the blood of Yuha, and I'm thinking, oh, you're going to go somewhere with that? And it's like, nah, not really. So
yeah, I wish there was some sort of, maybe even an arc, like maybe somehow in the Fobrin arc, we see Uryu and Ichigo somehow lose their trust. So then it's more of a twist later on in Thousand Year Blood War to see Ichigo, Uryu switch sides, kind of.
I mean, there's a few moments where they encounter each other and Uryu kind of fires arrows at Ichigo, but it's very apparent he's not trying to kill him. And it's just like, it's going to take more than like Uryu firing an arrow at Ichigo to make me think that he's gone over to the dark side, you know? It's just like... Yeah, there'd have to be something a little bit more complex there. Maybe, I don't know what he could have done.
Maybe Uryu killing a captain would have done that job.
Or Uryu killing like Chad or Orihime, or make it appear as such. Like that would have been something that's like, oh, okay, do a
Nami Usopp moment in our
kind of deal with that.
Yeah, where Chad would. Oh, Chad. I really hope they do more.
Poor Chad. Poor Orihime, too. I mean, they were training the whole arc in Hueco and finally we get to the Soul Palace, and Chad fights against some stone statues, and Orihime kind of helps Ichigo against Yuha, but not really. And then
I hope the anime makes that fight longer with Orihime helping Ichigo.
Yeah. I made this whole joke. It was a few years after Bleach ended. It was an April Fool's video I did where... I commissioned an artist to give me some things of Chad of like, there's a new manga series and it's starring Chad as the main character as a spin-off to Bleach. And it's going to be focusing on Chad as he's a boxer moving through the heavyweight championships.
Hey, that works.
I mean, that would have been a cool manga, just anything.
I would have loved that. Kubo's art would have been great for a boxing manga, I feel like.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And it's like, you think with the setup, if you watch The Substitute, the very beginning of Bleach, it's like, okay, Kubo wants to do stuff with Orihime and Chad and the way he sets up their characters and their backstories. And he did say that he didn't plan the Soul Society and the captains to be a thing at the beginning of Bleach. He didn't know that's where it was going to go. And maybe when it did get to that point, they kind of got pushed to the wayside. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to a degree, yes. But to a degree, also no. I still think Orihime and Chad as characters aren't as terrible as most people think they are. I think they're still solid characters. But
once again, not terrible, but underutilized.
Yeah. I totally agree with that mindset. They're just so underutilized. Chad more so, for sure. I mean, all he does in the final arc, as you said, was destroy a few statues and toss Ichigo in the air.
it makes it very frustrating when it's like, okay, he trains so much to go to Hueco to help Ichigo fight the Arrancar and get Orihime back. He has one fight against Gantenbein, and then after that, he gets knocked out by Noitra, and that's pretty much all he does the rest of the arc. And then same deal, he trains Fullbringer arc, he comes in, he trains in Hueco again, he comes in at the end of the Soul Palace, he just off-screens some giant statues, and that's it.
Maybe they won't be off screen. Maybe we'll get to see him.
Come on. Maybe we'll get to see him fight the giant statues. How could the giant statues move anyway? It was that was never explained. It's just like, oh, there's just giant statues that fight now. I'm like, okay.
That's the fight we're looking forward to the most. Chad versus giant statues.
And Ganju. Ganju was there too.
Chad was my favorite character in the first arc of Bleach. Like, after finishing the first arc of Bleach, it was Chad and Rukia. Those were my two favorite characters. I did not ship the two. I want to make that clear to people watching.
I mean, I didn't even think that, but okay.
Yeah, but somebody watching me saying Chad and Ichigo. I mean, Chad and Rukia.
Okay. Well, we're all right.
I mean, I did make a video called Chadigo.
Chadigo. There you go.
Yeah, it's the ship name. Chad, I think he was just such a funny character. I felt like the humor with him always stuck. Kubo did such a good job with humor with Chad. I feel like
the fact that he's this big muscular guy and you think it's just like, oh, he's going to be like really mean, but he's actually kind-hearted and kind of like that deadpan humor. Anytime something crazy goes on, like I remember the episode where they found out Yoruichi, like as a cat, could talk, and so Orihime just accepts it. Uryu freaks out, like, a talking cat, what? And then Chad's just like, yeah, Uryu, I had that reaction too. It's just like, because he's like kind of deadpan, you know. I love it. It's very fun.
I wish he got more in the future. I think it was really cool with the Ichigo monologue with Chad calling Chad his best friend, and how when Chad, another great moment was in Wako Mundo when they were on their way over there, Chad attacking Ichigo with his punch, saying, I am strong enough to go. Stop belittling me. I want to help too.
Yes.
And then he gets one shot by Nanotra.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. I mean, I understand the power issue. Like, can I make, like, Kubo's sitting there, like, can I make Chad strong enough to defeat, like, the 5th Espada? Like, that's maybe a little bit too much. Or can I make him strong enough to defeat a Bankai? Like, I don't know. That might be too much. I think you could have went with it, though. I think I saw so much badass fan art where he finally gets, like, his whole body covered in the armor. You know? Like, that, I've seen so much cool. Like, that could have worked, you know?
And I mean, like, him, like, he could, even if he lost, as long as he put up a better fight, I would have loved that.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I would have seen, like, okay, he fights Noitora, he actually gets a few shots out on him, and then maybe hits Noitora once, like, oh, you hit pretty hard, and then boom, and then, you know, at least it's a little bit of a fight.
Yeah, and maybe even he has another character, like, Bleach is famous for some character monologues. Maybe he has one of those monologues while fighting an Noitora, realizing he can't win this, but he has to hold him off as long as he can.
It could have been something like that.
And I think, that would have been perfect, I feel like. What do you think about how the visors were used?
Underutilized.
Yeah.
I mean, like, well, Kensei and Rose kind of got most screen time out of all of them. Shinji didn't even really get a serious fight the entire time. He had like that brief encounter with Bambi, and that was it. And then the rest of the Visors showed up and fought against Herald, and that was it. We really didn't get much more from them. Yeah, I would have liked it to see at least... well, we got to see Rose and Kensei's Bankai. We already knew Kensei's Bankai. Shinji's was shown in a light novel, and it was kind of explained there why he couldn't use it. And it was actually a pretty good reason why he couldn't have. But even so, like, the other Visors, like Love and Hiyori that stayed in the world of the living, we didn't get much more from them either. Yeah.
I feel like Thousand Year Blood War is an arc that expands upon a lot of these side characters of the series. And a lot of the characters of the series overall. But there's these characters that Kubo just kind of puts off to the side so that he can expand the other characters, which is fair, but the characters that everybody loves is still being underutilized in some aspects.
Everybody, like every character, I mean, every person has their own favorite character, and you get really excited when it's like the one chapter where Shinji has like kind of a fight, and it's like, ooh, are we gonna do Shinji now? Like, not really. And then the Visors show up and fight against Herald. I'm like, ooh, is that where this is going? I'm like, well, not really. We don't get to see much more.
Yeah, I wish Kubo expanded on one big thing with the Visors. And it could happen in the anime, why they don't use hollow masks anymore. Because my feeling is it's because they're done, like they don't want to use the power Aizen gave them anymore after defeating Aizen or something along those lines. And I would have loved that expanded.
That's fair. Except I know that the Visors like Hiyori and Love, they go into their hollow masks against Herald. I did hear a thing, and it might have been in the light novel actually, where Yamamoto like forbade them to use their masks while in the Seirete. Like there was like, or maybe not forbade them, but out of respect for the Gotei, it's like we won't rely on hollow powers for this. I still find that kind of iffy when you get down to the fact that it's being invaded by the Stern Ritter. Kensei and Rose did not use their hollow masks in that fight against Maste Masculine. Shinji didn't use his. I'm like, I understand pride. I understand, you know, you don't want to rely on his power.
Yeah. But Kensei's a little more understandable, I feel like, because of the past arc and like how he was treated over the others, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make any sense for their characters. It does. It's just like, this is literally a threat which could result in the destruction of the universe if you don't handle it right. So don't hold back. And even more frustrating is we find out in this arc that Quincy's have a huge weakness to hollow powers. So it's like, okay, they're like the presence of hollow Ryatsu is like poisonous to Quincy's. You have Kensei and Rose and Shinji that can use hollow powers, but they don't. I'm like, okay, that's kind of frustrating.
100%. Really good arc overall, I think. How would you rank the 1,000 Year Blood War arc?
On a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 or maybe based on the other arcs,
1 through 10, I'd say.
1 through 10. I would probably say my favorite arc in Bleach is the Soul Society arc. So if I was gonna give any arc a 10, I'd give it a 10. I'd probably put, for the potential of it, I'd say 8.
Oh, that's fair.
But like maybe for the potential, an 8. What we ended up getting might be more closer to a 7. But the potential 8, maybe we'll get that from the anime.
So I'm a little higher on that. I actually think 1,000 Year Blood War arc as a whole, it's like an 8.5 or a 9. But I understand where you're coming from as an 8, because most people have that lower expectations. But I think the first 1/3 of 1,000 Year Blood War was Kubo's peak in writing, peak in character.
That was certainly the best part of the arc, because it's starting a new arc, and it's like, okay, I have a certain way I want to do this. I think I agree with you there. Yeah.
I think how Kubo set up the despairing aspect of his new opponent was perfectly well done. And he was
trying to set it up like, okay, this is Yuha. He's somebody different. He's not like Aizen. He's very strong. He's basically the god of Quincy's. There's going to be something more to him than just being an enemy.
But this was a lot of fun, guys. If you guys have not subbed to Tekking101, I mean, he's a small new channel, just started making videos. Check him out.
Yeah, I think most people know where to find me at this point. But thanks for having me on, like, anytime.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. This is actually the last guest, so subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully.
Signing out. See you, everybody.